I was recently inspired to try dry brushing after an experience with one of my massage clients. She's been coming to me for quite a lot of years now, and I recently noticed that there was suddenly a change in her legs that kind of got me a little bit intrigued and ultimately made me decide to look into dry brushing more and actually try it for myself. Now, as often seems to happen with me, I had a bit of an unexpected reaction when I started dry brushing. So I will be filling you in on the details of both her changes and my unexpected reaction a little bit later in the video. But first, I want to talk about what dry brushing is, just in case you don't know, its benefits and potential problems, and how to actually do it, I guess. So, number one is why dry brush? So, what are the benefits? The benefits are firstly, so skin exfoliation, removing dead skin cells and improving the quality and the appearance of the skin. So this is what I thought that dry brushing was all about. I first learned about dry brushing years ago, but I just pretty much thought it was for skin quality was the main thing for the exfoliation. Now, when I was doing some digging into dry brushing and the benefits, I came across a number of videos by dermatologists warning about the potential damage of dry brushing. They're talking about skin thickening, and that it's not a great idea, as often happens with these things. But looking through the comments underneath, you can see that people who are actually doing this are getting great results. So for me, I'm just ignoring the dermatologist's advice. So the next thing that people do dry brushing for is to help to get rid of cellulite. So cellulite's a really common problem with us girls, and so a lot of women get quite good results from dry brushing for cellulite. Now, the next thing, which has got me really interested, is that dry brushing can be used for lymphatic drainage. So I have a very kind of lymphatic body type. I've always had issues with my lymph system. And when I realized that body brushing or dry brushing had benefits for lymphatic drainage, that's kind of what really kind of pricked my ears up. So if you're not sure what your lymphatic system is, it's everybody's heard of it, I guess, but it's a circulatory system. It's part of your circulatory system, but separate, kind of, but connected to your main circulatory system, that contains 6 to 10 litres of fluid. Your lymphatic system maintains your body fluid levels or helps to maintain your body fluid levels. It absorbs fats from the digestive tract. It protects your body from foreign invaders, so it's actually part of your immune system. It transports and removes waste products from the cells as well. And the fluid in the lymphatic system is pumped by your muscles contracting. So whereas your main circulatory system that pumps the blood around your body is pumped by your heart, the lymphatic system is pumped by your movement. So when you move, the lymphatic system the lymph is pumped around your lymphatic system in your body. So therefore, if it's not working well, it can become kind of sluggish and stagnant. Not exercising enough and being too kind of stationary, sitting too much and that sort of thing can all have an effect on the lymphatic system. And this is why for some people like myself, if we sit too long, we can end up with swollen feet and swollen legs because that lymph isn't being pumped around enough and it's pooling in the legs and feet. So the other thing that can happen with the lymph system is sometimes it can be damaged. So some people will have conditions known as lymphedema, where they might have one leg or one arm that swells or different areas of their body, and that can be because there's been damage done to the lymph vessels, often by surgery. So breast cancer surgery, for example, is a really common one where they remove lymph vessels from under the arm, and that can cause the side where the lymph vessels are removed, that can cause the arm to swell and really pull a lot of lymph fluid, and that needs to be really looked after and maintained well to stop it from becoming a problem. There can be other ways that the lymph system is damaged. So for example, with myself, one of my feet, my left foot, was actually damaged a long time ago. So when I was in my late 20s, by wearing a pair of shoes that were too tight. And I ended up, my foot all swelled up. It wasn't sore, but the shoes, I didn't have a lot of money, and I bought these cheap shoes, and they were too tight across the top of my foot. But I kept wearing them because I kind of didn't have any other alternative. And so it damaged the lymph system. I didn't understand at first what had happened, and my foot after that kept swelling. Eventually, over a number of years, it got better, and then when I was in my mid-30s, I had a pair of heels that had a strap across the top that also was quite tight. I remember wearing them to work one day. I walked into town at lunchtime, foot swelled up, and from that point on, that foot has always swollen. So it doesn't really seem to matter what I do. There's always some puffiness there, and I know now that the lymph vessels there have been damaged by those shoes. So that's what has actually happened there. So these sorts of things can become lymphedema and cause a problem. I know that on my foot, my skin, if things are not great, the skin gets a little bit rough across the top of my foot, and that's the sort of thing, is the skin can actually deteriorate quite badly for people who have quite bad lymphedema in those areas. Now, the lymph system not draining and moving properly can also be caused or play a role in lipedema. So lipedema is something that I have. It's a condition where you end up with fibrotic tissue around fat cells. It's a disorder that affects an estimated 10%, I think it is, of women. And I have lipedema nodules right up through my body. A lot of women just have them on their hips and legs and thighs. For me, I have them further up to about here in my body, and so they can stop the lymph from moving around as well as it should do as well. So some body types are more prone to lymphatic issues, and so those of us who kind of have those types of body types probably should be paying more attention to our lymph system and the way that it moves, and try and be looking after it. So that's something that I'm kind of really just starting to focus on now, because it's kind of come into my focus now that some other things have cleared up for me. And I have one of those body types that's prone to lymphatic issues, and so does my client that I mentioned earlier, but I'll talk more on that later. So that is the benefits of dry brushing and the reasons that people do it. Next, I'm going to talk about potential problems or things that you might want to know about or watch out for when you first start dry brushing. But before I do that, I want to tell you about the sponsor for today's video, Particular Supplements. Particular have a range of science-backed anti-aging supplements that can help you to slow the aging process, such as NMN, resveratrol, quercetin, calcium AKG, epigenin, and berberine. Particular products are made in the USA, and they are all third-party tested, contain no additives, GMOs, or anything else that should not be in those capsules. I personally love Particular supplements and have had amazing benefits from their NMN and resveratrol. I'll pop a link to them below the video along with my discount code Carnivore15, which will give you 15% off your order every time you use it. Now let's get back to dry brushing and the possible negatives. So the first one is skin irritation. Brushing too hard can cause skin irritation. So if your skin is being bothered by your dry brushing, maybe you might want to go a little bit lighter and see if that helps. The other thing is using a brush with bristles that are too hard. So my brush that I have here, I really like, and it has natural bristles that aren't too hard. The handle is a really good length, so I find that this brush is long enough but not too long to be awkward. So some brushes, depending on where you're brushing, can be too long, whereas this brush here with this shorter handle just is, I find, is the perfect length for doing pretty much everywhere on my body. It actually gives me really good control, using it on my legs, even on my feet, on my back, and I really like it. There's a lot of different varieties around, but I'll pop a link to this one below the video if you want to check it out. So the next negative from dry brushing can be nausea or headaches or just feeling off after doing it when you first start. And this is due to basically a detoxification or Herxheimer type reaction. Your lymph contains or can contain bacteria and toxins because it's carrying toxins from the cells and waste products and things like that. And because it's part of the immune system, it can be containing different bacteria and things. So when you speed up that lymph flow, your organs, detox organs, might just be having a little bit of trouble handling that. And so this actually happened to me when I first started doing the dry brushing. The first day I was fine, didn't notice any difference. The second day I felt really sick. I felt nauseous. I had a headache. I ended up with this really weird thing going on in my head felt really floaty, and the side of my head, my ear, my hearing was like really super sensitive, and it was quite bizarre. Only lasted about 36 hours or so, but it was obvious that my body was kind of struggling with detoxing what was in my lymph system. So this is, I don't think it's super common, but it does happen to people. So that's something to be mindful of. So how to manage and prevent those symptoms, I just wanted to give a few suggestions for that. So you can start looking after your liver, because your liver is kind of your biggest detox organ. So if your liver is struggling a little bit, then that can be a problem. So different ways of doing that is you can start looking after your liver before you start dry brushing. That's possibly a good idea. Also, cleaning up your diet, getting rid of ultra-processed foods. Of course, carnivore diet is a great way to do that. Supporting your liver with different herbs like milk thistle can really help, and using castor oil packs. I'm a huge fan of castor oil. I'm back using castor oil packs again because I hadn't been doing it for quite a while, but after having the reaction with the dry brushing, I thought, maybe I'd best get back to that. So I'm back using castor oil packs on my liver every night. I kind of alternate between my liver and just over my general abdominal area, over my stomach. And so I'm back doing that. If you don't know what a castor oil pack is, I will pop a link to castor oil and packs below the video as well, so you can go and check those out if you don't already own some. So the other things that you can do is to just start slowly. So if you dry brush, every second or third day, or just do part of your body and gradually work up. If you do have symptoms like detox symptoms, just back off and go slower. Give your body a bit of an easier time, and as I said, look after your liver and kind of clean your diet up. Now, I'll get to the story that I promised that I was going to tell regarding my client. So I have been massaging this lady every week for a number of years now, and so I know what her body feels like. She has a very similar body type to mine, so she's of Celtic origin. She puts weight on all over her body, the same as I do. She has a very lymphatic kind of body type, very prone to inflammation. She possibly has lipedema. I don't know. She's kind of carrying excess weight all over. Now, a few weeks ago, she came in, and when I was massaging her, I noticed that her legs felt a lot softer than usual. That was what I initially noticed. And she tells me that she's been dry brushing. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. But I kind of didn't really connect the two at the time. And then a couple of weeks later, she came in and her legs had changed again, and they were quite harder feeling, kind of tighter feeling. And so I asked her, I thought, why are her legs different? And I said to her, have you still been dry brushing? And she said, I've been a bit slack and I haven't been doing it as much this week. She said, I might have done it once this week, but, haven't really been doing it. And I said to her, and she said, why? Have you noticed a difference? And I said, yeah. And so that got her inspired. And so she's back dry brushing again on a very regular basis. Now, I noticed that the texture of her legs had changed. Obviously, there was less fluid in them. But I've also noticed that her legs have changed shape. So she had, like I do when I have more weight on. Since I've been on the carnivore diet and my body shape has changed, this isn't as much of an issue for me, but it was, and has been in the past, where under her knee there's a really puffy bit kind of on the inside of each leg under the knee. It kind of sticks out, and I had that as well. And I used to wonder whether that was fluid or whether it was fat. Now I'm pretty sure that it's mostly fluid, because those bits have reduced dramatically since she's been dry brushing. So that got me really intrigued as well, and that's where I kind of started looking into dry brushing and decided that I was going to give it a go. Because as I said, in the past I always just kind of thought it was mostly for skin improvement, just for exfoliation and stuff. I didn't realise that it had that much of an effect on the lymph system. So that was really intriguing. Now, when I started doing the dry brushing, as I said, I felt quite sick and had all these things going on. So that was kind of my experience when I started. So as I said, I backed off and have gone a lot slower. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was actually how to body brush for lymphatic drainage. So I'm just going to pop a diagram up here that I've made. So as you can see in my diagram, you have lymph nodes in your armpits and in your groin. You also have them in your neck behind your ears. So that's where you'll feel, if you've got a cold or something, you'll quite often feel them swell up behind your ears. There are also lymph nodes in other areas, including above the collarbone. And you'll see that I've circled the two areas at the collarbone. So these are where there are lymph nodes there, but it's also where the lymph system comes up and drains into the subclavian drains, which then returns the lymph fluid to the heart. So you'll see that also that I've put lines where I've split the body into right and left sides in different regions. Now, when you're body brushing, and this is the same if you're doing lymphatic drainage massage, you are going to focus initially on the areas where those main groups of lymph nodes are, so in the groin and in the armpits. And so, for example, if you're dry brushing your legs, you want to start close up to the groin area and brush just very gently upwards. Now, you might start maybe from a third of the way down your thigh and brush up towards the groin. And when you go around to the back of the leg, you're going to brush it round towards the front. Just bring it round towards the groin area. So everything that you're doing is coming up the leg and towards the groin. Now, as you want to gradually move down the leg to it's like clearing a channel. So, for example, if you could picture, if you have a pond and a water source and you're wanting to dig a drain, you don't want to start at the water source, because that water is going to keep kind of backing up and causing a problem as you're digging. You want to start at the pond end and clear the drain, clear the drain, clear the drain, clear the drain until you get to that water source. So then the water can flow to the pond and drain away. And that's basically what we're doing with lymphatic drainage. So you want to start at those main lymphatic node kind of areas, so the groin and the armpits, and you're gradually clearing the drain to allow water from further away to come through and be drained through those lymph nodes. So, as I said, on the leg, you want to start up at the groin, and you just gradually, like you do the areas, you might do this much of the leg, and then once you've done that, you'll move further down and bring that up, and then you'll move further down and brush up until you get down to the feet and brush up. And then what I do is, once I've got to the foot, then I'll just kind of gradually brush all the way back up again, because it's already been sort of cleared, and then you're just kind of encouraging more flow to go through. And it's the same with the arms. So you want to start on the chest and the arms, bringing it towards the armpit, and then working your way up and working your way up and working your way up and working your way up. And then once you get down here, then you can bring it up, because it's already kind of cleared, and you want to bring it from the back round to the armpits and do it that way. Now, if you're doing your face and your neck, you're wanting to come down and bring it down to the collarbone. So the head and the neck drains at the collarbone and then into those subclavian veins. And the body is split into the two different sides. So everything on the left side is going to the left armpit and the left groin, and on the right side going to the right armpit and the right groin. So that's basically how you do it. It's really simple. If you've got any questions, pop those below and I will answer those as soon as I can. Do you body brush? Like, what sort of results have you had with body brushing? How long have you been doing it for? I'm always interested to know what sort of results people have had with doing things. So pop those below. And that's it. So if you like this video, make sure to subscribe and like and share and do all that sort of stuff. I thank you very much for watching today, and I will talk to you another day. Goodbye for now.